Hey guys, it's Fish and I'm back with a new series called Panzer Corps. Now I have talked about this one for quite some time and I have been wanting to do it, and it's been a little bit shameful the reason why I haven't really been wanting to do it. Now, I didn't want to look bad. I've always considered myself a bit of a strategy gamer, but I don't think I've ever been at the top of the strategy gaming totem pole, so I was a little bit ashamed that my gameplay might not be the best, and I might get criticized for the strategic tactics. But then I had a bit of a think about it and I said, well, at the end of the day, the only way I'm going to get better is if I play it, and you guys will probably give me tips and hints and critique my strategy in good ways, so I'll get better. So I've decided to finally release Panzer Corps now, or Panzer Corps. Now this is going to be on the Sunday release of my videos. There's a few reasons for that. One, I've pretty much run out of things to do on Fish Teachers for the moment. On Subnautica, I've pretty much covered every topic that I think I can cover on Fish Teachers for Subnautica, and I'm struggling to come up with something else to cover as a Fish Teachers. Now, Fish Teachers was an immensely successful series of four episodes on different topics within Subnautica, and I really hope that I can do another series of that about a different game. I just don't have a game that I feel confident enough that I can really teach you guys about. And so with that, any subsequent Fish Teachers will just be a second video released on the Sunday. And for now, Panzer Corps will be the game that I release on the Sunday. So what is Panzer Corps? Well, it's the spiritual successor to Panzer General. This is a game that I played an immense amount when I was a young teen. It was a game that I was obsessed with. I played Panzer General 1, 2, 3, Allied General, Pacific General, Fantasy General, all the General games. Star General? I knew of it, but I don't think I actually played it. I played pretty much all the General games, and I loved them. They're turn-based strategy games where you have an army and you have movement phases and attack phases, and so you can move your troops in a way that will give them a tactical advantage and then use their attacks, or you can just move them and attack, move and attack, move and attack. You get one move and one attack per turn, and once all your units have done a move and an attack, or even if you've decided no, these units won't attack this turn, you can just end your turn, and then the AI or the other player who's playing it gets a chance to have a go at it. And you guys go back, or you guys or you and the AI go back and forward until one of you is successful. Now, I have a keen interest in war history. History in general, but war history is one of those things that I've always found immensely interesting. And Panzer General and even Panzer Corps has definitely set that off for me. And the beauty of this game is that they've made Panzer Corps, which is the German version. They've made Soviet Corps. I believe they're working on US Corps. So you can do this campaign from almost every angle. Maybe not Poland Corps, because they weren't really in the war in a meaningful way. Not to say that they didn't contribute, but they fell fairly quickly and were just a force that was within the UK forces, you could say. So whilst their contributions were significant, I just don't think a Poland Corps or anything like that's really gonna set the world on fire. So that's probably why they haven't made anything like that at any time. Now, the first thing I'm going to do with this game is I'm going to play through the tutorial, because I think it's going to be a good way for me to explain the way the game works, and it's going to have prompts that'll just be like, okay, this is how this mechanic works, and it'll save me trying to think as things happen to talk to you about it, and it'll probably be a lot more succinct in its explanation to you. Alright, and with that, let's get into a new game. So we'll go into the middle one here. That's the tutorial, and you've got 4 campaigns within Panzer Corps, and I think when I finally do play it, I'll play the grand campaign. So that'll be the 1939 and 1945. So that's the entire war. But you can do it from different points, whether you want to play just 41 to 45, which Operation Barbarossa, which was the Germans' advance into the Soviet Union. The Western Front, which was them holding back the Allies once they had landed. No, they hadn't landed then, had they? By 1943, although they had landed in Italy. So yeah, okay, it'll be the Italian campaign. It even says it here, Italy, the soft underbelly. There we go. I know my history. And the Eastern Front, so 1941, you see successes from the Germans. They're pushed back a little bit in 42, but they still make some decent gains in 42. In 43, they've got some problems. They're starting to be pushed back, and 3/4 of the German army are on the Eastern Front to hold back the Soviet Union. And that was the only thing that held them back for 2 years. Well, maybe 3. So with that, let's jump into the tutorial campaign, and I'm probably going to say some historical stuff, so you'll probably learn some stuff while you're here. So hopefully you don't mind doing that. Now what's that? Play the tutorial campaign. There's little badges down the side here. Africa Corps, so that's an expansion that I haven't bought yet. That'll be the Allied Corps. I didn't think that was out yet. And Soviet Corps, which I haven't bought yet. So if this is something that you're interested in, like the video, and you'll definitely see more of it, even if I don't get that many likes. But if I don't get a huge amount, maybe I won't play Soviet Corps, maybe I won't play Allied Corps, or even Africa Corps. So let's get on with this campaign, with a tutorial campaign, and we'll learn how this game actually... Oh, actually, before we do that, let's have a look at some of the scenarios that we can play. So the scenarios within this pretty much mirror major campaigns within World War II. So you've got Poland, which was the initial German thrust into Poland to take it. France was where they turned their attention to the Western Allies and pretty much destroyed France in quick succession, really. Barbarossa, which was the advance into the Soviet Union. Moscow 41. So they got very, very close to Moscow. They got within, I think, 100 Ks. Comment section if you want to correct me on that one, but they got very, very close, but not quite close enough that they could take it. And actually, I think it goes that way. Yeah, it does, because Poland into Norway. So they wanted Norway to not only prevent the UK from having Norway as a base to then strike down into Germany. They wanted the iron that came from Norway as well. The Low Countries, which was then pushing into the Netherlands, Belgium, and a little bit of France. And at the same time, they're coming through the Ardennes forests to cut off all the forces that are engaging in the Low Countries. So it's actually a brilliant move. Now, if you do well enough in the game, you actually do get a chance to do some non-historical campaigns. So had the Germans done well enough in the Battle of Britain in the air war, they may have invaded Britain with a sea force in 1940. Now, that, yeah, you can see perhaps one of the most famous what-ifs. So the Germans were actually doing very, very well in the Battle of Britain, and later on in the war, the UK did a bombing raid on Berlin. Well, not later in the war, later in that campaign. And that stopped the Germans from focusing on airfields and taking out the RAF, or the Air Force, and turned their attention to bombing London instead, which was actually a good thing for the Allies, because it meant that they could use their fighters to take out bombers, and the Germans were actually really, really hard pressed after they lost so many aircraft trying to just bomb Berlin, not Berlin, trying to bomb London for no reason, really. No tactical reason. Alright, so after that, Greece. Barbarossa, which we looked at, the rush to Moscow. They're trying to get from the initial invasion and then rushing through the mid part of the Soviet Union before it gets to Moscow. Kiev. Panzer Corps swung south. Oh, okay, yeah, so they entrapped a Soviet army. They moved so so this army group and the southern army group moved so quickly that they actually encircled an army group and were able to destroy it. Moscow 41, a sea line in 42. If the Germans had defeated the Soviet Union in 41 and taken Moscow and taken it over, then they might have been able to take on the British in 1942 instead of 1940, like we saw with Sea Line. So that was an actual plan. They had plans drawn up for how they were going to invade UK, and it was called Sea Line. Okay, we have Stalingrad. So a very, very well-known battle where the Sixth Army went in and then was subsequently encircled due to poor troops being on their flanks. And they lasted for a long, long time before they eventually surrendered, much to Hitler's disgust. Italy, yep. So the Allies came in and fought their way through Sicily and then through Italy. Kursk. So this was a big armor battle where a huge amount of armor on both sides just engaged each other, and I believe the Russians came out on top. Now, had the Germans done alright, maybe they made a push for Moscow in 1943. So that's another what-if one. The Gustav Line. So they did actually form a line in Italy where they were creating entrenchments and battlements around Monte Cassino. Overlord, so that was the invasion of Normandy by the Allies. I haven't heard of Bagration. Soviets start their Great Summer Offensive in 1944. I have heard of it, I just didn't know that was the name of it. So the Ardennes, so that was the Battle of the Bulge, or better known as Battle of the Bulge. If you've seen Band of Brothers, you'll know the Battle of the Bulge. They were involved in that. 101st Airborne still hasn't admitted they needed help in that campaign. Lake Balaton, Germany's last offensive to try and retake the Hungarian capital, and so on and so forth. So there is an immense amount of scenarios in this, and you even get a chance to invade the USA if you do well enough in Europe. So you take Sea Line, you take Moscow, then you get a chance to go after the US itself. So that's amazing. And then custom one, I guess you could just sort of say, I want these troops, I want this many towns, that kind of thing. All right, let's go back. And 12 minutes in, and we haven't even started yet. So let's at least get some of this.
Welcome to our Dresden training grounds, Herr Oberst. You are here to master a revolutionary new form of warfare, Blitzkrieg. Over the coming days, we will instruct you on the rules of warfare and test your mettle in several training exercises. Should you successfully complete your training, you will be given command of a newly formed Panzer Corps. But first, you must earn it. For your first training exercise, you will use the forces at your disposal to seize control of your objectives. In all of our training simulations, the cities and airfields you control will be marked red, while cities your enemy controls are marked as blue. Once you have taken control of all primary objectives, the exercise will be complete. You may wish to destroy supporting units located adjacent to your objectives to make the battle less costly for your forces. But remember that in Blitzkrieg, a slow victory is no victory at all. We will be watching your progress from 2 observation bunkers. Do not disappoint me.
Okay, so that's a little bit of training just before we go and learn how it all works. Now, this is a very, very simple part of the campaign. Okay, so victory conditions, we have the weather, which is, it's dry, so it's good. It means that my armor will move quickly. When it gets wet, they move slower because of the mud, and I think all tracked vehicles do, and even potentially foot as well. And the forecast for tomorrow is dry as well. Now, for a decisive victory, we need to capture all the objectives with 4 turns remaining. We have 10 turns total. And for a marginal victory, we just capture the objectives within the 10 turns. Now, you want a decisive victory because normally you get more points for that, which you can then spend on getting better troops, which will make it easier for you in the next campaign. You can actually get a bit of a roll going with that. You also want decisive victories because decisive victories will open up some of those hypothetical scenarios like Sea Line or the invasion of the UK. Alright, so welcome to Panzer Corps Mission. Here's a few notes that will help you enjoy the game. Read the instructions, then close the message box. Cool. Tactical map. In action takes place on the tactical map. That's this one here. Apologise for the black bars that run along the top and the bottom. That's just the way the game is. If you have a look at this status bar for you to play on, you'll see that it goes all the way down to the bottom. So for some reason they just didn't want to open this all the way up. I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but you can't have everything, I suppose. All the action takes place on there. This is where units move and attack. You're a German officer in command of Axis forces. Axis units have grey strength plates, and so that's my guys over here, here, and there's a guy up above into the north where this map, where this message is. And Allied units have green ones. In most scenarios, your goal is to capture or hold victory hexes. Now you can see there's a blue victory hex here on this town and here on this town. These hexes are marked with golden border. Every unit may make one move and one attack per turn, as I said, and they even show you down the bottom here, you've got a little arrow for the move turn and a little target for the attack turn. Move the cursor to the edge of the screen and you'll see that you can move. See? Easy. Click the mini-map to quickly move. So, it's not a very... okay, that's weird. It won't let me do that. But I can click on this mini-map and it'll move me around as well. Zooming the map. You can zoom the map in and out using the mouse wheel or the keyboard shortcut. I'll just use a mouse wheel. And it pretty much doesn't let you do any of that on this, which is really, really weird. Not sure what's going on there. Giving orders. Select your units by left clicking. Okay. Okay. Deselect the unit. I don't know what's happened there. There we go. So I can zoom out and that gives me a bit more of a tactical map. And you can see there's almost no room for maneuver on this map. You pretty much just go down this road, take that town, take that town. And there's really only 3 units that you've got to take on anyway, which is an infantry here with no artillery support, or no support of any kind really. And an infantry on this town with artillery support. And I think they'll explain what happens with artillery support a bit later. Okay, so this is me moving. Now, these are infantry, shown by the fact that they're just little dudes with guns, and they don't have any transportation other than foot movement. You can see that because they'll get white dots, and that's where they can move. So I'll move him past, and they're the 2 forts they're watching me from apparently. So these guys are the same. No transportation. Now these guys are a bit different. They have vehicles that they can either move on foot this far, 3 hexes, or they can move a bit further using their vehicle. Now if they travel along a road, you can see that I can get this far without the road, but I can get 1 hex further with the road. So it's actually advantageous for you to use the road. But you've got to know that there's going to be ambushes along the road. That's where enemy are going to set up, that kind of thing. Now I'll move these guys forward because I know that this is a training exercise and these guys will not leave their victory hex. Now it's pretty common for these guys never to leave their victory hex because if they leave, I can then just rush in and take it. And then I hold the town and it's harder for them to push me out. So it's very rare for the enemy to move out of a town or a victory hex. Okay, this is my tank, and it has, well, obviously tracks, so it doesn't need to mount up. Now, one thing I didn't mention with the infantry is that if they mount up, they cannot fight for that turn. They can't just get out of the truck. So they'll be out of the truck when I end my turn, but for this turn, they are now a vulnerable target because instead of being infantry, they are now a truck. And that makes them exceptionally vulnerable to infantry. So I've got my tank as far as I can move it forward, and I'll get these guys to move in their truck as well, because I know that these guys are not going to leave. Now, one thing that I like to do is just do a quick check of these buttons down here, next unit, previous unit, and you can use this to just scroll through if there's any turns or attacks of troops that you have left, because whilst it doesn't seem that bad right now with 5 troops, later on you've got more than that. You've got 20, 30, 40 troops, and it can be very, very hard to keep track of them. Especially if you're using multiple prongs of attack and that kind of thing. So I'm going to end my turn. And we can see here the weather is dry just like it predicted, and it's going to be dry tomorrow as well. I don't think it ever rains in the tutorial. Now it's turn 2, and we've got plenty of time. We've got 5 more turns. Okay, now a big part of this game is using not only terrain to your advantage. So if I attack in the mountains, it's going to make the defender get a bonus. If I attack them in a town, it's going to give them a bonus, but I can neutralize some of these bonuses. For instance, if I move all my troops, here we go. So the enemy is now facing more than one of my units. The situation is known as a mass attack and gives the advantages to the attacker, because the defender gets stretched because they've got to try and wonder, are these guys going to attack me or are these guys going to attack me? And the more people I put on that front, the bigger that bonus gets. So if you've got multiple units within range, I highly recommend that you stretch them across the front and then attack with them instead of going move, attack, move, attack, move, attack. Because it really hurts. This means the defender cannot bring all their forces to bear, and they just get really hurt by them. Cool. Now I can't. I'm going to push him over. No, I'm not. I'm going to push him over here. And I'm going to push. I can't quite get my tank up, but that's okay. I can get this guy. Now, you can see that I have an opportunity to attack. Now, on the left-hand side, it says this is how many troops it expects you to lose in this engagement. And the green is how many troops it expects the enemy to lose in this engagement. Now, that's not always the case, because there is an element of dice roll in this game. And for anyone who's played Panzer General or even Panzer Corps, you've probably been infuriated by rugged defense after rugged defense after rugged defense in just a position that you're just like, how can these guys still be rugged defensing me? Now, rugged defense is a roll where if the defender rolls well and the attacker rolls poorly, they actually get a massive bonus to their defense, and they will hurt you. They will absolutely annihilate you. So we have 3 guys here, so I'm going to go in because 2 to 5 I think is worth it. And we took 6, and they didn't even get an attack because that's how hard we hit them. So that was really good. Now 4 to 1. No issues there. Now I'm going to lose 1 troop, but that was totally worth it. All units have moved, and there's no... Now, this guy still had an attack, but there's no one left for him to attack within range, and he can't move. So we're just going to move on. End our turn. Yep, so it's dry. Now, who is the slowest moving? Replacements. Okay, so we've had a damaged unit. We've lost 1 of our 10... points of troops. I don't really know what they're supposed to represent, but it's just once your troops get to 0, the unit no longer exists. So the unit was damaged in the last combat, and its strength is below what its maximum, which can be 10, but you can actually overstrength these units as well, but it costs a lot. And up here you've got your turns shown on the left here, and over on the right part you can see I've got 354 points to spend on reinforcements, new troops, that kind of thing. So they're my my money, for lack of a better term. In order for to replace the units, use the replacements or elite replacement button. Now this command takes an entire turn, costs some prestige, which is okay. So it's called prestige instead of money, and I should have known that because that's what it was called in Panzer General as well. The exact amount is indicated on the tooltip above the button. Now, here's elite replacements are more expensive, but the experience of the unit is preserved. Note the adjacent enemy units can reduce the number of placements you receive. So you don't ever want to replace if there's troops next to you, because you can't get the full amount that you want to get. So here I have an opportunity to either replace that one with the one that I lost with some normal replacements that are not as strong, and they'll actually bring my experience down from 26 points to 23 points. Now if I get elite replacements, it actually keeps it at 26, but you can see that it costs 4 prestige instead of 17 prestige. So I honestly like elite replacements. I think that the bonuses you get for experience are amazing, so I'm going to do that. Now this guy is out of action for the whole turn, but that's okay. Now I want to use one of my guys that can't move on, that moves only on foot and not on a vehicle, because I want to get my troops to this fight as quickly as I can. So I'm going to rush my tank forward. I'm going to rush Well, that guy doesn't rush forward, but I'm going to rush this guy. I'm going to try and do... Oh, am I? No, I'm going to push here. Just out of this artillery range. And I believe that's everything I've got. Let's check. Yep. That's all we got. So, clear and dry, clear and dry. Still going. Still got our troops here. Push that forward. What I want to do is I want to swing my tank around and take on this artillery, because if I were to use my infantry to attack this infantry right now, this artillery would actually fire before that engagement happens. So if I try and take this artillery out beforehand, doesn't even factor in. And so 4 of those are gone. Artillery against tanks is just more directly against tanks. It's just not a factor. So I'm going to move this guy forward. He is then going to engage this artillery. It's now gone. I don't even have to think about it anymore. And I'm going to push my infantry up. And I'm going to get a bonus because they're stretched over this wide front. Now that was an even engagement, but I can live with that because I am in a far better position than they are. They have 1 troop, whereas I have 5. Here we go. Let's swing all out close terrain. Your tank can attack the infantry next to it, but doing so is not a good idea. While tanks have strong armor to protect them from infantry weapons in close terrain, such as cities... Sorry, infantry weapons, comma, in close terrain, such as cities, forests, hills, and mountains, the infantry is able to get much closer to the tanks. And that's true. So your tank's driving down the road, and you have some guys hiding behind a building. They come out, bazooka it, or throw a sticky bomb on it or something, if you've seen Saving Private Ryan. Giving all units a close defense value, which is usually much lower than their normal ground defense. So sending tanks in against infantry who are in towns is a bad idea. Use your infantry instead. And not to mention that by using this tank as a way of widening the front, I've actually put him in a potentially perilous position. It's probably not going to be a factor because I'll probably kill these guys in this turn, but if the infantry were to survive, they could attack this tank and get that bonus that they would have got if I had attacked them. So you want to be very careful about using close terrain, but that's okay. I'm not too fussed about this because you can see, oh, here we go, we got a rugged defense. So I killed 3 of them, they killed 4 of me, even though it should have been a 5-0. The defender has managed to surprise you with your attacking unit and catch them in crossfire. The situation known as rugged defense. When a rugged defense occurs, the attacker often takes heavy casualties, and I did. I lost 4 troops for 3 troops, I think. Only entrenched units can put up a rugged defense. So these guys have dug in. The longer they sit in a town or on a position, they start to dig in. They start to dig holes, trenches, little, put up fortifications, that kind of thing. So the longer you leave them there, the more entrenched they get, and then you eventually need to use things like artillery or bombers to destroy those entrenchments, and then they lose that bonus. And the entrenched unit, when planning your attack, you can see the chance of rugged defense in the extended prediction window. Control click on an enemy unit. Military engineers are specifically trained to fight against entrenched enemies. So yeah, engineers are really, really good. Okay. So if we were to do this, for instance, control click. Here we go. I've never actually seen this before. I obviously didn't read it. So if I were to initiative versus initiative, rugged defense chance 10%. Cool. So they're expecting 4 of them to die for none of mine, which is really, really good. So let's actually use these guys. Cleared them out. Now they do get to fight back. And we've now taken the town. Captured all the victory hectares. Your opponent gets 1 chance to try and capture something back. But they won't because there's nothing left on the map. I end my turn and it's over, and we got a decisive victory. Now, I'm going to leave this episode here. I think I've explained my love of this game, this genre of games. Hopefully you've gotten a bit of an appreciation of Panzer Corps itself, and I will be bringing you more of this. That was just the first tutorial, and we're going to work through the tutorials and then eventually onto the main campaign. Alright guys, hopefully enjoyed that episode, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help the channel, but not only that, it helps me know what kind of content you're interested in and what kind of content you didn't find that interesting. Comment section down below is also a great way for you to tell me, oh, I loved Panzer Corps, or not really my type of game, I might not watch this kind of stuff. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. It means that you'll get fish gaming videos in your YouTube mailbox every single day, and I do put out content every single day. Alright guys, I've been Fish, this has been Panzer Corps, and I'll definitely catch you next time.